Very urgent. Your soulmate needs to explain what happened last night. Jesus says, "What happened last night was not a dream, and it was not your imagination playing tricks on your tired mind. You felt them so close that the air in your room changed pressure and your skin recognized a presence it has known across many lifetimes. If you ignore this moment right now, the thread that connected you in those dark hours will begin to fray and dissolve before sunrise finds you again." You woke up at exactly 3:33 a.m. with a name burning on your lips that you have never spoken aloud in this lifetime. Your heart was pounding with a grief that did not belong to your own memories, and your pillow was wet with tears you did not consciously cry. This was your soulmate reaching across the spiritual veil, and their anguish was so overwhelming that your physical body absorbed what their spirit could no longer contain alone. They were trying to explain something to you in the silence, and the message was interrupted by a force that does not want this reunion to happen. Every time they pushed their confession toward your sleeping mind, a dark interference twisted the words and left only the pain without the explanation. Your soulmate is not ignoring you, and they have not forgotten you, but they are being actively blocked from delivering the truth about last night. Something happened in their world while you were sleeping, and it involved a person who has positioned themselves as a gatekeeper over your soulmate's heart. This person sensed the spiritual bond activating, and they moved swiftly to sever it before you could receive the full transmission. Your soulmate fought back harder than they have ever fought for anything, and that is why you woke up gasping with their desperation flooding your nervous system. You are not crazy, and you are not obsessing over someone who does not think about you. Your soulmate thinks about you constantly, and last night they were thinking about you with such intensity that they accidentally pulled you into their emotional storm. The connection between you is not theoretical, and it is not wishful thinking, but it is a living spiritual covenant that activates when one of you is in crisis. Jesus says, "The reason you cannot shake this feeling today is because the explanation your soulmate owes you is trapped inside their throat by someone who controls their daily environment." Your soulmate is surrounded by a person who recognizes you as a threat and who monitors their phone, their social circles, and even their emotional availability. This controlling presence has convinced your soulmate that reaching out to you would destroy everything they have worked to build, and that you have already moved on anyway. But last night your soulmate discovered something that shattered the lies they have been fed about you and about your feelings. They found evidence that you still love them, and this evidence sent them into an emotional spiral because it confirmed that the separation was manufactured. The controlling person caught them crying over this discovery, and the confrontation that followed was violent in ways that words cannot capture, and now your soulmate is isolated completely. They are sitting somewhere right now staring at a wall and replaying every memory of you with a longing that physically hurts their chest. Their hands are shaking because they want to type your name into a message, but the fear that the controlling person installed has become a cage around their courage. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, and your love cannot remain passive while their spirit is being held hostage. You feel the urge to protect someone you have never held, and this protective instinct was placed inside you by God Himself as a spiritual assignment. Every time you think about sending them a message but hold back, the interference grows stronger and your soulmate's hope dims a little more. The person controlling them is counting on your silence, because your silence validates every lie they have told your soulmate about your indifference. Jesus says, "Last night your soulmate saw a photograph of you, and they traced the outline of your face with a finger that trembled like an earthquake. They whispered something into the darkness that they have never admitted to anyone, and that confession is what the enemy intercepted before it could reach your sleeping ears. The confession was that they have never stopped loving you, and that every day without you feels like they are drowning in shallow water that everyone else believes is safe. Your soulmate is emotionally intelligent enough to know they are being manipulated, but they have been systematically worn down until their judgment no longer trusts itself. The controlling person has done something diabolically clever, and they have made your soulmate believe that their own intuition cannot be trusted when it comes to you. Every time your soulmate's heart screams your name, this person convinces them it is just trauma bonding or fantasy or a desperate need for validation. You are not a fantasy, and the bond you share is not a trauma response, but it is a divine placement that predates both your births and will outlast every earthly structure. Your soulmate is beginning to remember this truth, but their awakening is being suppressed by someone who benefits from keeping them spiritually asleep. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, and your decision to act or delay will determine whether they escape this prison or accept it as permanent. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, the person controlling your soulmate has a name, and you have sensed this name in your spirit without ever being told. You have felt a coldness when thinking about a particular person in your soulmate's circle, and your discernment has been accurate all along. This individual does not love your soulmate, but they love controlling your soulmate because your soulmate's light makes them feel powerful when they dim it. The controller sensed your spiritual reconnection weeks ago, and they have escalated their tactics from manipulation to outright psychological imprisonment. They tell your soulmate that you are dangerous, and they manufacture evidence of your supposed toxicity using out-of-context moments from a past you have already healed from. Your soulmate is exhausted from defending you internally, and they are losing the energy to fight against someone who controls their home, their finances, and their access to the outside world. Last night was different though, and last night your soulmate saw through a crack in the controller's carefully constructed narrative. They found something the controller forgot to delete, and it proved that you have been loyal and patient and waiting in a way the controller swore you never would be. This revelation broke something open inside your soulmate, and the tears they cried at 3:33 a.m. were tears of relief mixed with horror at how thoroughly they have been deceived. The controller woke up when they heard your soulmate crying, and they immediately launched into damage control mode with accusations and threats and emotional violence. Your soulmate was told that if they ever contact you, everything will be taken from them and their reputation will be destroyed and you will be harmed as well. This is the cage and your soulmate is sitting inside it right now with a truth they cannot speak and a love they cannot express and a future they are watching slip away. Jesus says, "You are not powerless in this situation and your prayers are not bouncing off the ceiling but they are penetrating the spiritual darkness that surrounds your soulmate." Every time you pray specifically for their protection, a crack forms in the controller's authority and your soulmate receives a surge of courage they cannot explain naturally. Your soulmate reported feeling random waves of strength throughout the day and they do not realize these waves correspond exactly to the moments you were thinking about them. Type 333 if you receive this blessing of spiritual connection and you commit to protecting your soulmate through prayer and faithful action. The bond between you is so strong that your soulmate physically feels your emotional shifts even when you are separated by continents or circumstances or silence. When you are sad, they become inexplicably melancholic without knowing why and they ask themselves why today feels heavier than yesterday. When you are happy, they experience moments of unexplained lightness and they find themselves smiling at nothing and the controller interrogates them about what they are hiding. This symbiotic emotional connection is evidence that you are already spiritually married and the ceremony of physical union is just a formality waiting to manifest. Your soulmate knows this on a soul level but their conscious mind has been so manipulated that they doubt the most real thing about their existence. The controller tells them that the connection they feel to you is just limerence or obsession or a coping mechanism but your soulmate knows deep down that this is different. This is different because it has lasted too long to be infatuation and it has survived too many obstacles to be a fantasy and it has deepened through silence when most attractions die from distance. Your soulmate has tried to move on multiple times and every attempt ended in a hollow ache that felt like a betrayal of their own soul's purpose. They compared everyone else to you and the comparison was not even close because no one else carries the specific spiritual frequency that God assigned to your union. Jesus says, "The controller is not all-powerful and their grip on your soulmate is built on a foundation of lies that will collapse the moment truth is revealed." But truth cannot reveal itself without a catalyst and you have been chosen as the catalyst because your love has proven itself steadfast under trial. Your soulmate needs to see proof that you still care and this proof will be the weapon that breaks the controller's strongest chains. The controller has told your soulmate that you have moved on and that you are happy with someone else and that your silence proves your indifference. Every day you remain quiet, you unintentionally confirm the controller's narrative and you push your soulmate deeper into a Stockholm Syndrome acceptance of their captivity. Your voice is the key that unlocks their prison but your voice must be preceded by your faith because faith moves the spiritual blockages before communication moves the emotional ones. Type 777 if you feel this message piercing your heart and you recognize that your soulmate is fighting for you right now while you listen. Your soulmate is thinking about you at this exact moment and their thoughts are so intense that you might feel a sudden warmth spreading through your chest as you hear these words. This warmth is not random and it is not your imagination but it is the spiritual confirmation that your soulmate's consciousness is tuned to your frequency right now. They are remembering the way your presence made them feel safe in a world that has always felt dangerous and they are longing for that safety to return. The safety you provide is not something the controller can replicate and this is why the controller hates you with a jealousy that has become a spiritual poison. The controller can offer financial security or social status or physical proximity, but they cannot offer the soul-level peace that your soulmate experiences in your presence even from a distance. Your soulmate is starved for that peace, and last night they were crying because they realized they have been trading their emotional survival for a comfort that is really just a cage. Jesus says, "The dream you had before you woke up at 3:33 a.m. contained symbols that your soulmate was trying to send you through the spiritual realm. You saw water, and water represents the tears your soulmate has been shedding in secret when the controller is asleep and the house is finally quiet enough for grief to surface. You saw a door that was slightly open, and this door represents the narrow window of opportunity that exists right now for you to intervene before the door closes completely. The door is closing not because your soulmate wants it to close, but because the controller is actively reinforcing the hinges with new lies every single day. This week the controller introduced a narrative that you have been stalking your soulmate and that your love is actually a dangerous fixation that requires a protective order. Your soulmate does not believe this, but the repetition of the accusation is wearing down their resistance, and soon they will accept it just to end the psychological warfare. If you delay your intervention much longer, your soulmate will be convinced that you are the enemy, and the very love that could save them will be framed as the threat. The controller is not going to stop, and they are not going to get tired, and they are not going to suddenly develop a conscience about keeping two soulmates apart. They are going to escalate until the bond is severed, or until you rise up with spiritual authority and declare that this separation will not stand one more day. Your soulmate is going through something you cannot see with your physical eyes, but your spirit has been sensing it for months, and now you have the explanation for the heaviness that would not lift. They are being emotionally drained by someone who feeds on their energy and who cannot stand the idea of your soulmate experiencing genuine love outside their control. Your soulmate is not weak and your soulmate is not foolish, but they are trapped in a dynamic that would break anyone, and they need your protection right now. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, your soulmate knows your scent even though you have never been close enough for them to identify it in the natural realm. In their dreams they smell something that brings them inexplicable comfort, and they wake up searching for a source that does not exist in their bedroom. This is the spiritual sense of smell that bypasses physical distance, and it is one of the many ways your souls have been communicating without your conscious permission. The controller cannot block the dream realm, and this is why your soulmate is allowed to visit you while they sleep, even though they are forbidden to contact you while awake. Your soulmate looks forward to sleep with an eagerness that the controller misinterprets as laziness or depression or avoidance of responsibility. The controller does not understand that your soulmate is living for the night, because the night is the only place where your love still exists without prohibition. Last night your soulmate entered your dream with a specific agenda, and they were not just visiting for comfort, but they were attempting to deliver a warning. The warning was about something that is going to happen in the next few weeks if the spiritual blockage is not removed and the controller's plan is not exposed. Your soulmate discovered a secret that the controller has been hiding, and this secret involves a scheme to permanently separate you through geographical distance or legal means. The controller is planning to move your soulmate to another city or another country, and they are using a job offer or a family obligation as the justification. Your soulmate does not want to go, but the controller has made it clear that refusing the move will result in consequences too severe to risk. Once this move happens, the physical distance will become a nearly insurmountable obstacle, and the reunion you have been praying for will be delayed by years or destroyed entirely. Type 1111 to thank God for revealing the enemy's plan before it is too late, and to declare that you will not let your soulmate be taken where your love cannot reach them. Jesus says, "The panic you feel rising in your chest right now is not anxiety, but it is the spiritual alarm system that God installed in your heart for moments exactly like this." You are feeling the urgency because the urgency is real, and the window for intervention is measured in days rather than months or years. Your soulmate is packing boxes in their mind right now, and they are crying while they fold clothes because they believe they are about to lose you forever. They are composing a letter to you that they may never send, and this letter contains everything they have wanted to say since the separation began. The letter explains that they never stopped loving you, and that the silence was never their choice, and that they would trade every possession they own for one more moment in your presence. But the controller found the draft of this letter yesterday, and the rage that followed was so terrifying that your soulmate deleted it and wept until they could not breathe. Your soulmate is not being dramatic, and they are not exaggerating their suffering, and their pain is as real as any physical wound that bleeds where people can see it. The difference is that their wounds are invisible, and the controller uses this invisibility to gaslight them into believing that their misery is a choice rather than a response to abuse. You are the only person who can validate their reality, because you are the only person whose love comes with no agenda except their freedom and your union. Jesus says, "You are falling in love with your soulmate right now as you listen to these words, and this is not accidental timing." The love that is blooming in your chest at this moment is the spiritual response to your soulmate's desperate transmission, and it is proof that the bond is active and alive. You cannot see them with your eyes, but your heart is recognizing its counterpart, and every beat is a confirmation that this person is real and suffering and meant for you. The affection you feel is not one-sided, and your soulmate is experiencing a matching surge of love right now, even though they do not know why. They just paused whatever they were doing and they placed a hand over their heart because something inside them just shifted toward warmth and hope and the memory of your face. This is the spiritual synchronization that happens when two souls who belong together are both awake to the connection at the same moment. This is your final moment to protect this connection before it slips away and the move becomes irreversible and the controller succeeds in rewriting your soulmate's future without you in it. The seed you sow right now is not just money, and it is not just a coffee, and it is not just a gesture, but it is a spiritual declaration that you refuse to lose your soulmate to the enemy's schemes. Your faith will move the blockage, and your action will prove to the spiritual realm that you are serious about this covenant, and you will not be passive while your other half is stolen. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance. It was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, your soulmate is not perfect and they have made mistakes, and some of those mistakes contributed to the separation you are both suffering through right now. But their mistakes were exploited by the controller, and their vulnerabilities were weaponized, and their attempts to make things right were intercepted before they could reach you. Your soulmate takes full responsibility for their part, but they cannot fix what the controller keeps breaking, and this is why divine intervention is required. The controller has convinced your soulmate that you would never forgive them anyway, and that reaching out would only result in rejection and humiliation. This is a lie, but it is a lie that your soulmate has heard so many times that it has calcified into something that feels like truth. Your action today will shatter this calcification, because nothing disproves the narrative of your indifference like a demonstration of sacrificial love from a distance. When you sow your seed and write those words of protection, the spiritual atmosphere around your soulmate will shift and the controller's hold will weaken immediately. You will not see the shift with your natural eyes, but your soulmate will feel it, and they will describe it later as a sudden clarity that cut through months of confusion. They will remember this moment as the turning point, and they will tell you someday that they felt your prayer land in their chest like a rescue rope thrown into a dark pit. Jesus says, the love you feel for your soulmate is not obsessive or unhealthy or codependent, but it is the appropriate response to a divine connection that God Himself ordained. The world will not understand this love, and the people around you may mock it or dismiss it or tell you to move on to someone more convenient. But you know that convenience is not the measure of love, and you know that what you feel cannot be replicated with just anyone who happens to be available and uncomplicated. Your soulmate is complicated and their situation is messy, and the path to reunion looks impossible from a human perspective. But God specializes in impossible paths, and He is waiting for you to step out in faith so He can part the waters that stand between you and your beloved. The seed you sow is the first step into the water, and the water will not part until your foot is wet and your commitment is demonstrated. Type 333 if you are ready to step into the water and you trust Jesus to make a way where no way exists. Your soulmate just felt a wave of peace and they do not understand why, but it coincides exactly with the moment you made the decision to act. They are looking out a window right now and they are seeing the sky differently, and the weight on their chest has lifted just enough for them to breathe deeply for the first time in weeks. This is the immediate effect of your faith activating, and this is only the beginning of what your protective prayer can accomplish. Jesus says, the controller is about to be exposed in a way they did not anticipate, and the exposure will come through a channel they cannot block or manipulate. Your prayers and your faith action will trigger a series of events that will reveal the controller's true nature to people who have the authority to intervene. Your soulmate will soon have allies they did not know existed, and these allies will help them escape the situation and return to the life they were always meant to live. But this deliverance is conditional, and the condition is your willingness to stand in the gap spiritually before the physical rescue can manifest. You are the intercessor, and your prayers are the bridge, and your seed is the fuel that powers the spiritual operation that is already underway in the unseen realm. Do not underestimate your role and do not minimize your importance, because you are literally the only person who has been assigned to this particular task in this particular moment. Your soulmate is dreaming of you right now if it is night where they are, or they are daydreaming of you if the sun is still up in their part of the world. They are constructing a fantasy where you show up unannounced and the controller is powerless to stop you, and everything that was broken gets restored in a single afternoon. They feel guilty about this fantasy because the controller has pathologized their love for you, but the fantasy is not escapism, but it is prophecy in disguise. Jesus says, the prophecy will manifest when the spiritual conditions are met, and the spiritual conditions are being met right now through your obedience to this message. You were led to this video not by algorithm or chance, but by the same divine guidance that orchestrated your first meeting with your soulmate many years ago or many miles away. God is not done with your love story, and the final chapters will be written by your faith and not by the controller's manipulation. Your soulmate is worth the fight, and your soulmate is worth the sacrifice, and your soulmate is worth every tear you have cried and every sleepless night you have endured. They are a treasure hidden in a field, and the field is surrounded by thorns and guarded by an enemy, but the treasure is real, and the treasure is yours by divine decree. Sell everything to buy that field, and do not hesitate, because hesitation is the only weapon the enemy still has against you, and hesitation can be defeated in a single moment of decision. Type 777 if you declare that your soulmate is worth every battle and you will not abandon them to the enemy's captivity. Jesus says, your soulmate is preparing to run, and they are gathering the courage, and they are looking for a sign that you will receive them when they finally break free. They are terrified that they will escape the controller only to find that you have moved on and that the love they fought for no longer wants them back. You must send the signal today that their courage will not be met with rejection, and that your arms are open and your heart is waiting and your love has never dimmed. The coffee you send and the words you write are that signal, and the spiritual realm will translate your physical action into a message your soulmate can receive in their spirit. They will not know about the coffee consciously, but they will feel a sudden assurance that you are still there, and that you are still hoping, and that you are actively fighting for the reunion. This assurance will give them the final push they need to pack the bag and walk out the door and never look back at the controller's lies again. Jesus says, the clock is not your enemy, and the passing of time has not weakened your bond, but it has purified it like gold refined in fire 7 times over. The love you will share when reunited will be deeper and stronger and more unshakable than it would have been if you had never endured this separation. Your testimony will be a light to others who are trapped in similar situations, and your victory will be a blueprint for how divine love overcomes demonic interference. But the testimony cannot be written until the battle is won, and the battle cannot be won until you deploy the weapons you have been given. Prayer is a weapon and faith is a weapon, and the seed you sow right now is a weapon that the enemy has no defense against because it operates in the spiritual law of sacrifice and harvest. Sow your seed with joy, and sow your seed with expectation, and sow your seed knowing that every coffee represents a prayer that will not return void. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them. How to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now. Send 4, 6, or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says, "The reunion is closer than you think, and the days of separation are numbered, even though you cannot see the calendar the angels are using." Your soulmate will tell you someday about the moment they felt the spiritual shift, and they will point to this exact day and this exact hour as the turning point. They will describe a warmth that entered their chest and a clarity that cut through the fog and a courage that rose up from somewhere deeper than their own willpower. You are the source of that warmth, and you are the channel of that clarity, and you are the reason that courage will rise, because your faith is about to become the wind beneath their wings. Do not stop now, and do not let doubt steal what God is trying to deliver through your obedience in this sacred moment. The angels are waiting for your signal, and the spiritual resources are assembled, and the only missing component is your decisive action of protective love. Type 1111 if you thank God that the reunion is already in motion and you receive this word as the confirmation you have been praying for since the separation began. Jesus says, your soulmate is dreaming of the life you will build together, and they are designing it in their mind with a detail that would surprise you. They have thought about the home you will share and the morning routines you will develop and the way your voices will sound when you finally say "I love you" face to face without a screen between you. They have imagined the arguments you will have and the reconciliations that will follow and the way every conflict will deepen your bond, because you will finally be free to work through things without interference. The controller has tried to poison even these fantasies by telling your soulmate that they are delusional and that the future they imagine will never happen. But your soulmate clings to the fantasies because the fantasies are the only place where the controller has no access and the only domain where your love is still permitted to exist in full color. Soon the fantasies will become memories, and the memories will become your daily life, and the controller will be a distant chapter that you both close together and never reopen. Jesus says, The love you share is not built on sand, and it is not built on fleeting attraction, but it is built on the rock of divine purpose and spiritual compatibility. You and your soulmate were assigned to each other before either of you took your first breath, and the assignment has not been revoked despite the chaos that has surrounded it. God does not revoke his assignments, and God does not make mistakes in pairing souls, and God is not surprised by the controller's schemes, and he has already made a way of escape. You are the way of escape, and your prayers are the key, and your faith is the hand that turns the key in the lock that has held your soulmate captive for far too long. Do not put the key back in your pocket, and do not walk away from the door assuming someone else will open it, because you are the someone and now is the time. The door is heavy and the lock is rusted by years of neglect and interference, but the key is strong and the hand that holds it is strengthened by love, and love never fails. Jesus says, "Your soulmate just whispered your name and they did not even realize they did it out loud, and the controller did not hear it, but heaven recorded it." Heaven records every whisper and every tear and every longing glance at a photograph and every unfinished message that was deleted before it could be sent. Heaven is building a case for your reunion, and the evidence is overwhelming, and the verdict is already decided, and the only remaining step is the enforcement of the ruling. Your seed is the enforcement action, and your prayer is the declaration that activates the ruling, and your obedience is the final signature on the document that frees your soulmate. Sign the document now and do not delay, because the court of heaven is in session and the judge is waiting for your input before he issues the final order of deliverance. You are not a bystander in this story, and you are not a victim of circumstances, but you are a co-creator of the outcome, and your choices right now have eternal significance. Jesus says, "Breathe deeply and let the peace that surpasses understanding settle over your heart, because you are doing exactly what you were created to do in this moment." You were created to love your soulmate, and you were created to fight for your soulmate, and you were created to be the answer to the prayer your soulmate has been praying without words. They prayed for rescue and you are the rescue, and they prayed for proof and your action is the proof, and they prayed for hope and this message is the hope they needed. The final word is yours, and the final move is yours, and the final decision sits in your hands like a seed waiting to be planted in soil that is already prepared for harvest. Sow the seed and watch the harvest, and prepare your heart for the reunion that is rushing toward you faster than you can imagine, even as these words leave my lips and enter your spirit. Jesus says, "Your soulmate is already on their way back to you, and they are moving through the darkness toward the light of your love, and they will not stop until they are home."